What's up, YouTube? I thought today, we would just go shoot some stuff, talk about some brutal death metal. That's my specialty. I love talking about old school brutal death metal, 90s brutal death metal, 2000 brutal death metal, but I also do love the classics. I feel like no one really does, like, more modern stuff besides, like, Sean, maybe, like, Melanie and stuff. But, like, the first band called Arterial Vivisection. It's called Shrouded in Depravity. Very nice stuff. This is Human Blister Records. I talked about these guys on one of my brutal death metal, like new and upcoming bands type of things. But I actually really enjoy this band. They keep it old school. We got like the Mortal Decay shirts. Everything here is kind of like a token to Mortal Decay. They mention Mortal Decay in here. They got lyrics like "Wake up, half dead." Nude cadavers. Like that's pretty Mortal Decay, straightforward. But it's like them and Nuclear Remains are one of the two bands that really like push the emphasis on like the Mortal Decay sound and brutal death metal. The new promo that Nuclear Remains did was very old school Mortal Decay. Very sickening esque sounding. I really enjoyed that promo more than the previous one. That was a little too much like heinous killings worship. Yeah, very nice sound on this. Very nice acoustic guitars at the end to kind of close out this little demo. 4 songs, once again on Human Blister Records. But yeah, I think this is one of the bands that's like the future of brutal death metal. If they keep doing stuff correctly like this, it's a band that I really want to see in the future. Trying to see like how big they go about things, like what they do for like maybe like an album or something. Where they really push the envelope of like this style of like Malignancy, Mortal Decay-esque, old school brutal death metal for the new generation. This is a San Antonio, Texas band. So Texas, of course, had a good scene in the late 90s, Prophecy, Century, Devourment, obviously stuff like that. But yeah, I always liked Texas. You had stuff like Imprecation, which was like brutal, but Imprecation, I do love them. I'll just put it over here. Another band. This came from Show No Mercy Records, so Slayer Records. This band's called Mastication of Brutality Uncontrolled. It's called the Epoch of Anthropogenic Deities. Very cool logo. Kind of reminds me of like the 2010 technical death metal. This is like technical slamming brutal death metal. Very technical. You will recognize some familiar faces. Everyone in Despondency also plays in this band. Got classic Coney from Defeated Sanity's 2 albums in the 2010s. Despondency, Gallery of Darkness. He's no stranger to brutal death metal. But yeah, the entire lineup. I think it was something like a 2015 was the last release, and then like all of Despondency just kind of went to this, so it's kind of like a side project without it being a side project. But yeah, it reminded me of that like early 2010s like Cognitive, Abominable Putridity. Like you saw like where like the artwork was really like technological and like futuristic, like that like later like Deeds of Flesh type of thing where it's like cybery and all like wires and stuff. Like that was kind of just like the approach that these like bands were going, like very like slam worldwide looking. But there's a lot here, especially they have a Vomit Remnants cover. So once again, like these newer brutal death metal style acts are going to a lot of the 90s roots with stuff, like I mentioned, like Mortal Decay, Malignancy, Vomit Remnants. It's nice to see the old school meeting the new school to kind of tie everything together to connect the scenes for brutal death metal. But there's a lot to love here. It's very nice, very technical. Like I said, if you just want, if you're expecting just like despondency type of stuff, like you're not gonna get it. It is very technical slam. Like that, you don't really hear much about like technical slam, but the guitars on like the 6th song, what's the 6th song? The Metamorphic Oblivion. If you're gonna pick a song on Spotify or like YouTube and just like put it on there from this band, definitely the 6th song, Metamorphic Oblivion. Crazy zipping guitars. I mean, the guitars are just zipping, crazy technical. I was like, whoa, this is actually really good. That was a song that to me was like really pushed me onto this as like a classic release on the shelf, like something that I would pick up on my shelf again. Bunch of vocals approaches here, like a bunch of vocals, just like screams, low pitch, anything really. Just it's so much craziness going on this. If you're looking for something new, brutal with old school remnants, definitely check this out. It has like dying fetus parts in some parts, suffocation, maybe some like disavowed, some deaden. Like I said, old school, new school, very cool. Technical slam. The band label also sent me some stickers. So we have, of course, this is the Show No Mercy stickers, obviously from the Slayer song, and then some cool stickers supporting the scene, supporting the label, supporting the band. Once again, thank you to Show No Mercies for sending in the good stuff, showing me some new good bands. Also sent me a shirt. It's on the back. Very cool. I like this design right here. Show No Mercies, the Epoch album. Some cool artwork. Look at that. That's really cool. Gotta do the smell test. This is from Korea. Oh yeah, nice and dirty. I always do the smell test when I get stuff from like Indonesia and stuff like Fat Tup of Lard, or like Brutal Mind, like the brutal death metal labels, like Self Made God. Like I always do the smell test because it just smells like a factory. Oh yeah, nice factory smell. The shine on the shirt, very nice. I mean, look at this shine. Got the nice glittery gold. The camera's not picking it up, but I can tell you it's very nice. Like those old like Mortal Decay Grizzly long sleeves. Very nice shiny print. Look at that. Yeah, that's a great shirt. Look at that. That's nice. You can pick these up. I highly recommend pick this up. This is a Gildan Ultra Cotton Large. Feels nice and thick. Doesn't feel like it's trash. So really good quality stuff for the album. If I was to rate the album, I'd give it a good 8 out of 10. Same with the Arterial Vivisection. Nice 8 out of 10. Probably even close to a 9 out of 10. I really just want to hear more from both of these. Yeah, crazy good stuff. Once again, it's a Connie project, so you defeated sanity, despondency, gallery of darkness lovers. You will enjoy this. But I did also want to check out because Renee from Horrific Visions posted a new single on Comatose, so I figured we're just gonna see a reaction. I haven't done a reaction video since Dying Fetus tried to file a lawsuit against me, so I try not to do them anymore. But I figured why not? I love Comatose. Comatose has good stuff. Like they did the Cerebral Hemorrhage reissue. They have the Mortal Decay reissues. Very nice stuff. So we're just gonna check it out. This is Primal Regression. So click on that. This is also San Antonio. So we have 2 San Antonio, Texas bands. Yeah, I like the logo, the Horrific Visions, the 3D. Because we're trying to do that with like Impure Conception. Like we have like the new logo, it's like the bubble art type of logo. Like the 3D stuff, some cool riffing, some nice drumming. Vocals kind of remind me of like that like Orgasm, like the Damien type of vocals. Like what he does in like Modern Broken Hope. Ripping's catchy, nice drumming. I like the Cerebral Effusion shirt. Got the Cerebral Effusion flag from New Standard Elite next to the New Standard Elite. Kind of reminds me of like a more like gutturally Modern Broken Hope with the vocals. Very like belching sound with the vocals. Not my usual vocal approach for like what I like. It's not bad. It's just like like not the typical vocal approach for like these type of bands that I really think of. There we got the slam. Artwork looks pretty like, like I mentioned, just typical NSC at this point, like, more typical, like, flesh mangled or, like, regurgitated entrails, virologist type of stuff that everyone's doing nowadays. I don't know if the vocals would grow on me eventually. It's just, like I said, not my typical approach with the vocals that I look for. Riffing's kind of like the same, like 2 or 3 riffs. Drumming's nice. Alright, that was a nice riff. Yeah, this riff's cool. Yeah, riffing's nice. At the song? Oh, little shorter song there. But yeah, Renee's band. I've been friends with Renee on Facebook for a while. Don't really check out most of his modern stuff. But yeah, that one was fun. The whole album comes out on May 22nd. It's going to be called Remnants of Atrophy, whatever. Again, it is going to be Comatose. I know I don't know. It's like weird because like he like posted like stabbing drums. I don't know if he's still in stabbing. Not I've say what you want about stabbing. I think I have beef with one of the members. Not entirely sure, but I just never got into stabbing at all because of that. I wasn't sure, but yeah, the new style of like all the blast bands as compared to like the more like groove bands, like I feel like there was just an influx of like too much blast bands, and now there's kind of just like too much of like the bands trying to be like grooves, where it's like I feel like a lot of these bands like Nuclear Remains and like Regurgitated Entrails that had like a big coming in like 2022, 2023 kind of got like hidden or like swept back under the rug, like the Cali Kid wave. But I do see once these bands start doing stuff again, because it's like all of them released albums and demos at the same time. Now it's like whenever all these bands, like I said, like Regurgitated Entrails, Submerged, like Sam's band, like once they start doing stuff again, then it's going to start picking up. To grow this scene, we need more of the newer bands going back to the old school roots, which I really like. Newer bands going back to the old school roots while still keeping it like modern and brutal. Like different approaches. Like this has more of like the clean production, Defeated Sanity-esque sound with the more modern, brutal, slamming, technical death metal style, like the 2010s, mixed with some old school 90s. While this is more of like that Malignancy, Regurgitation sound mixed with like the 90s Mortal Decay with like some acoustic guitars that you'd see on like Scatter Remnants with Inherent Perversion. So, two different styles of brutal death metal, still of like the new generation, old school. Same with Horrific Visions, that's more of like the most modern sounding. I thought that the Horrific Visions, that was like a good like 7 out of 10. I love the riffing, I love the drumming. Vocals were kind of like still I need to grow on that, but it reminded me a lot of like a modern Broken Hope if they were like more so and so like brutal, meaning brutal as in like disgorge, brutal death metal type of deal. But I did enjoy it for what it was. It was fun to check out one of Renee's projects. Like I said, never really got into stabbing because I wasn't sure if I had beef with one of the members, but that's just me. But checked out all 3 bands that I mentioned here and all the other bands that I talked about, like, Nuclear Remains, Regurgitated Entrails, Submerged, Flesh Mangled. You should all know all of them because I've talked about them numerous times on my channel. And if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe. And until next time, peace out.